I was 25 at the time. My goal by the time I hit 30 was to hit 100,000. So at 25, when I got that phone call, I was like, wait a minute, I thought I had to get my master's degree and everything before I even got to that amount of money.
Yeah.
So when I got overseas, in the 6-month time frame between me working OSP and doing system administration, I had got my Security Plus and my MCSA Server 2016.
Okay.
So those were like the only 2 requirements that I needed for the system admin position.
Yeah.
So we did about 6 months, went ahead and got into that position. And when I first started that position, it was paying $145,000 when I first started it. And by the time I left, I came home April 2020. And by the time I left, it was paying like $176,000.
Welcome back to another episode of Day in My Tech Life. Today we have a special guest. This is Victor Wynn. He has a crazy story and background. You've definitely been through it all. I've known you for years now,
Yes.
so I'm so excited that you're here. You are now a program manager,
Yes.
and you have a great background. So welcome on to the interview series.
I'm so excited. It has been years.
I know, it's been years, and you relocated from the DMV down here to Atlanta too.
Yep.
So we both started out and it's been great. So I'm gonna let you tell your story, but he's been overseas too. So this is gonna be a good episode. Make sure you watch the whole thing. So, what made you want to get into tech at first? Like, what's your background? Where are you from?
So I'm from Temple Hills, and I know you was in Oxon Hill, so
Yep.
like right there. So what made me want to get into tech was I was always technically inclined as a kid, like just natural curiosity. Took apart my first computer when I was in like middle school. I took it apart on carpet, so it worked for like a month and then it broke. So after that, I just was really curious of like PC gaming and stuff. So when I got my first job, which was Burger King on Oxon Hill Road,
Oh,
right
wow.
there, that was my first job.
Okay.
I had saved up enough money over the summer to build my first computer. So at that point, it was kind of like I want to get into something tech related. And when I finished high school, I didn't know what major I wanted to go. I just went ahead and did computer science. And my first semester, it was at Morgan State. And that's when I realized computer science was not for me.
Yeah.
I did not
You didn't
wanna
like the
code.
programming?
I did not want to program.
The
That
math?
Yes, all of it.
Yep.
But that first semester was like a paid vacation for me because I was just so distracted. I got a 0-point-something GPA that first semester.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you was just partying?
When I say having a ball, I was having a ball. I came home and ended up getting my associates from Montgomery College, my bachelor's from University of Maryland, and I got my master's from University of Maryland as well.
Okay. What'd you end up getting your bachelor's and your master's in?
Bachelor's Information Systems Management with a minor Business Administration, and my master's Cybersecurity Management and Policy.
Okay. All right. So you got all the qualifications after you had your fun.
Yeah.
You had your fun. And then so when you ended up getting your bachelor's, did you get any internships then, or did you start like working in tech after that?
So that journey was kind of interesting because I graduated high school 2011. I was supposed to finish with my bachelor's in 2015, but I finished my bachelor's in 2017, and I completed my master's last year. So everything happened like at its own pace. I had I wouldn't really call it an internship. So I was a waiter while I was in school, and I was on, I think, Indeed. And I found this part-time gig for this research corporation in Rockville, Maryland. And I started working for them, and they had an IT department. So that's when, after about 3 months, I was like, do y'all have any full-time positions available? So I got my first full-time position, and that was in like 2016. And at that point, I already had my associates, and I had just an A+ at that point. And I was doing like, help desk related kind of things and stuff. So that was my first official job in tech, was in 2016.
And so you started in help desk. I know a lot of people now, they want to completely try to skip help desk, especially the people who want technical roles, but I don't know. I feel like, especially if you're trying to get into GovTech, I don't see anything wrong with going into a help desk role that's going to sponsor you for a clearance, and then you can jump and just do something else.
Yeah, I think that skipping the fundamentals like that really comes back to bite you if you really you don't. Like, it always happens. I see it happen so many times. You'll have like a conversation with someone and they're like, oh, I want to get involved in cybersecurity. And it's like, okay, well, you never even really dealt with like help desk related things. Like, you don't know what DHCP is. Like, you don't know what DNS is. Like, it's basic fundamental things. So I think a lot of times, depending on what direction you want to go in, just, start. I mean, not to say you can't skip to where you want to go.
Right.
But, sometimes having that groundwork there that help desk gives you is great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to get into cybersecurity now, right? Because it's so in demand and it's a buzzword for some. But it's like,
really is.
I tell people that, unless you go to school, the likelihood for you getting a technical cybersecurity role is not that high. Now, I have helped people do it, but they already had a clearance,
Correct.
right? And then they got their Security Plus, and then they got that entry-level cyber job. So, it's caveats to it.
Yep.
So what'd you end up doing after you got that first help desk role? How'd your journey progress from there?
That's interesting. So I got fired from that position.
So you got fired?
I got fired from that position.
Wait. So how'd you get fired from the job?
Okay,
that was a help desk role. Yeah, how'd you get
that
fired?
was the first one. Okay, so one of the tasks that I had to do was go to all of the desktops of the entire organization and double check if they had Duo, like the multi-authentication app installed on the computers. And the list was, I think, about 60-something pages. So I wasn't about to, on my work computer in my office, just scroll down this list and come back in one and one. So I went ahead and emailed myself, to my personal email, the list of all the devices and stuff like that. So as I'm going around the building and stuff, I'm just like, checking it off, like la-di-da-di-do. I get a call into the office and they're like, you know what you're here for? And I'm like, no, literally don't know what I'm there for.
Right.
So I'm sitting there for like 20 minutes. They put me into the office and they're like, did you send yourself anything? And I said, oh no, wait, yes, I did. And I explained why. And they were like, well, were you aware that that has all of the IP addresses for the entire organization on it, like for all those devices? And I was like, no, it doesn't. So they pulled it up and it was a column that was like to the far right.
Right.
So I didn't even see that. And when I saw that, I was like, uh-oh. So basically, like, I got fired for that. And that was like my first time being fired from a tech job. And I was so crushed from that. So after that, I ended up getting a job working for Xfinity, and I was like a cable technician for them. So that's when I learned like, Cat 6 cable and stuff like that, and like ingress, egress, and just like being able to check signal strength and all of that kind of stuff. And that tied in perfectly because I left Xfinity because I said, I don't like hard labor. I don't want to do like hard labor work. I was outside, it was hot outside, and we had to wear jeans, steel-toe boots, and I'm sweating, and I'm like, no, this isn't for me. So, that's when I got another help desk position while I'm working at NIH, and it was for NTT data. And so the first role that I got, I was making $40K at that position. And then the second one, it was $43K, not that much of a difference. But while I was there was when I got the phone call for Vectress. And mind you, at NIH, I had a public trust, which really wasn't like an official clearance.
Right.
So I was trying to figure out how to get a clearance because the DMV area, it's like, the pool of people that just have clearances is so large, so like a lot of times the companies don't want to always sponsor. You can still find it, but it's not like it was just, I didn't like the competition. I said, too many of y'all already have it. I need one. I need to figure this out. So Vectress called me, and when they called, they were talking about going overseas to do OSP work, which fell in line with what I was on with Xfinity.
What is OSP work?
Outside plant technician. So basically it's layer one of the OSI model. So I'll be responsible for ensuring physical connectivity. So if any of the area like connection nodes don't have fiber connectivity, I'll be responsible for going and checking the patch panel to make sure like this fiber path is good to go. If it's broken or whatever, I'll like patch it through. If anyone like needed cables ran to their office and stuff like that, I'll run the cables. If the Ethernet cord was messed up, replacing that. Anything on the physical level, then I would like bounce it to like the network admins as soon as a device had an IP or something like that. So because I did similar stuff with Xfinity, I was able to just slide into that with Vectress. And when they gave me the phone call, well, when they called me, they were like, we're going to sponsor your clearance, and you don't have to pay for housing or food. It's an overseas position, so I didn't know the location. So I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I like this. And at the end of the call, he's like, yeah, it's Afghanistan. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Afghanistan? I'm not going to Afghanistan. The Taliban is there. So,
you're like, no, I'm not going to Afghanistan. But that's how they'll be on like for the overseas roles. If it's a location they know people don't want to go to, they're not going to tell you.
Exactly.
Like that's always first key. Like you get a phone call for an overseas role, first question should be, where is this role located at?
Yes. So he told me that at the end, and at first I was like, I'm not going there, but that's when he told me that I would be starting off at like 120K. So mind you,
you're going to start off at how much?
120.
Wow.
So that was
from 43 to 120,000.
Yes. And I was just I had a skill set that I learned at Xfinity.
Right.
I was on like cable technician
the same work.
Correct. So I was supporting the Army's 25th Signal, and I went over there. Well, right before I went over there, so they was doing my background check for my clearance, and that started, I want to say, February of 2018, and that's when I got like a help desk tier 2 job in March of 2018, and I was making like $55K there, like an in-between thing. I knew I was leaving.
Right.
And one of my coworkers from my previous role, I had brought her over with me because they needed more people and stuff, and so she was like really excited because she got like a raise from like 40 to 55 as well.
Yeah.
So that was like, I felt good about that.
Right.
And
you got to bring your people up.
right. And that's when I left to go to Afghanistan in August of 2018. August 18th was the day that I flew out. August 18th, 2018, and we went to Texas for training, to like that base, and they
How long were you out there?
Afghanistan total?
No, how long were you in Texas for training?
Was
it one of like a 2-3 week
training? It was like
training?
a 2-week period, yeah. We had to do like the cyber awareness and all of that kind of training and stuff, and they showed us videos about like war zones and stuff.
Yeah.
And all of that, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of getting a little hectic, and they had like scenarios running and stuff. You're like, you want to volunteer to be an actor in this scene? And I'm like, baby, I want to live. I just want to make my money and live, that's it. So I was out there for 2 weeks, and then I went to Kuwait, and that's like where their headquarters were. So we were in Kuwait waiting for our Afghanistan visas. Was out there for probably want to say like a week or two, and then that's when they flew us to Afghanistan, and yeah, I was stationed on HKIA, and I was over there as OSP, and after about 6 months, that's when I became a system admin over there. So
okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I try to tell people like overseas, there's so many opportunities, right? You were just like, hey, I don't really want to go to Afghanistan,
Right.
but I'm going from 43,000 to 120,000,
Yes.
and you were able to quickly progress in your career too.
Yep.
So within 6 months, you were in a sysadmin role. Did you get your Security Plus or any certifications during that time?
Yeah. So even to speak to your point about how you can just like make a leap.
Right.
So I was 25 at the time. My goal by the time I hit 30 was to hit 100,000. So at 25, when I got that phone call, I was like, wait a minute, I thought I had to get my master's degree and everything before I even got to that amount of money.
Yeah.
So when I got overseas, in the 6-month time frame between me working OSP and doing system administration, I had got my Security Plus and my MCSA Server 2016.
Okay.
So those were like the only 2 requirements that I needed for the system admin position.
Yeah.
So we did about 6 months, went ahead and got into that position. And when I first started that position, it was paying $145,000 when I first started it. And by the time I left, I came home April 2020, and by the time I left, it was paying like $176,000. They did have like a tier 2 system admin out there that they could have probably paid like, not probably, they were making almost 200K. And then if you wanted to like one step above and go back to Kuwait, like where their headquarters were, they were paying about 220, 230. If you did like information assurance, they were paying a lot. But the good part about being overseas that I really do love is it's so easy to move around within your organization, because once you're on that base, you already have your clearance, your certifications and stuff like that. A lot of the companies, if they have contracts for those other positions, will have like internal training programs. So that's how I did. So after work and before work, I would go shadow the system administrators and probably like about a month.
Yeah.
And then once I was done, they would sign off on the paperwork, submit that to HR, apply for the position, and you just slide into it. Like stateside, it's not
like
that.
Right. I try to tell people that all the time. You're literally saying exactly what I did with Raytheon, right? So like people, they say like, that's not common. You can't, no, that's how it works overseas. Right. It's completely different. GovTech is different, and then overseas is completely different, right? So it's just so much opportunity for you. But like the fact that you're able to move around internally, you can shadow people, they cross train. I mean, you could just do so much. So like, how was it that first 6 months when you were overseas in Afghanistan?
I had a ball. I had a ball in Afghanistan. I am still like good friends with some of those people till this day.
Yeah.
Like one of them is like one of my best friends.
Oh, really?
And yep. And it was like a group of us all around the same age, and so we were just always having fun and stuff like that. I mean, overseas is a wild place. I'm not going to get too far into the specifics of, what they do there, but it's a really so. We didn't even get attacked. Like the first 6 months, didn't get attacked. Like we heard one like fight that was at a distance. It was hot. I had to get used to that part.
Yeah.
And the food options. So that was another thing. When they ship the food, sometimes I guess it leaves like freezing temperature. So sometimes like we would be running to the bathroom because of
The
like
food.
no food.
Yeah. So how was that like transition, and how was it in Afghanistan? Because like, so for me, I didn't work in the war zone areas, but I did work in remote areas. So Japan was pretty remote, but I still had a car and stuff. But when I was in Taiwan, we were living on that mountain, and whatever food came up for the week from Costco is what we had for the week.
So,
right?
we had options. So we couldn't leave base because, of course, our contract didn't have like us having weapons and stuff. So if you don't have a weapon, you couldn't leave base. I didn't want to leave base anyway because I don't want to get hit with the IED or anything like that. Like,
right. You were like, I'm staying on base.
Right. So we had a Pizza Hut, we had a Thai restaurant, an American food restaurant. We had a movie theater that like played some movies that were in the theater. We had like a gym. We had an American DFAC. We had a Turkish DFAC. We had like a whole market. And when I say the market had like grade A replica, that's the first time I ever found out about like replica watches and like replica, like anything like that. This one lady, she had like a real Rolex, and she took it down there and like put it next to the one that they had and literally could not tell the difference. And it was just like moving the same. And I'm just like, this is fraud. But it was a great time. I feel like if I'm missing anything that I previously did say, just let me know.
No, you good.
Tap into it.
You good.
Okay, you got a brain,
Yeah. So when you were working overseas, I guess like for people who want to work overseas, like what type of skills do you think they should focus on, and like what type of things do you think they should do to get overseas?
So the defense guide that you made was like really good with that. It was like very spot on. So companies like Raytheon, Vectrus, these companies sponsor clearances. So you don't even have to have like an extraordinary background and stuff like that. You just have to have the qualifications, whatever they need. So like, for example, if you want to do help desk work, if they need you to have like your Security Plus as a baseline and like a CE cert, which could be like a simple Windows 11 certification, probably like equivalent now. They'll be like, oh, okay, and sponsor certification and go ahead and like give you the opportunity. They don't require that much. Even for my OSP position, when they called me, the interview for it was so, I was like, is this really an interview for this? He asked me like, do you know what they call the red, white, and yellow cable that plugs into the TV? And I was like, yes, but like what?
Yeah, but what this got to do with the job?
Like, there's no correlation, but because I had the skill sets from Xfinity, I was able to slide into that position. So it's, the barrier to get in skill set wise is not high, but they will sponsor your clearance. And once you get that clearance, it just makes life so much easier. Like, as you can see, from 43K to 120. And it's like that income jump transfers stateside if you have transferable skills for the role stateside. Right,
exactly. So that's the big thing that gets people caught up. So a lot of people that work overseas, which I don't really talk about this side because I'm like, I know y'all don't want to do those roles, right? Like the operator, maintainer roles. Those are usually people that are previously from working in the military or in the military, right? So what they usually do is they're in the military and then they go and slide from whatever they were doing in the military right into it overseas. And the issue is the work that they do overseas, which is operations and maintenance, that type of work is not in the States.
Correct.
And if you do find it in the States, it ain't gonna pay nowhere near as much.
And that's true because our contract was an O&M contract. And we didn't have to do like any hard labor work. So like if it was like a new building going up or something of that nature, the Army would send their 10 team out to run the initial infrastructure wiring. Now once that initial infrastructure wiring was there, we were responsible for just making sure that it operated and maintained. So we just did that portion of it. So it was never like any major work in that regard, but that's also true that if you don't transfer like those skill sets while you're over there and slide into other positions how I did, when you come back home, for example, if you do OSP overseas, 120K. You come back home, Xfinity. That's like,
you said Xfinity. No, but literally, like, and the same thing for like the O&Mers. It's like, okay, you could be an O&Mer making, I think the O&Mers were making like 120-ish. 120-ish overseas, but it doesn't exist in the States.
Correct.
So like I think the only thing that could kind of be close to like an O&Mer in the States is maybe like a field service rep, but it's still got to be one that's still maintenance related, right?
But see, For that, I have a friend that did something like
Uh-huh.
that, and he was making like 80 something K, and he was, I think, supporting the FBI, but it required a top secret. And for me personally, I don't think that it's worth it to be overseas for all of that time and to have all these opportunities in front of you to potentially transfer into different positions that you can come back home and make six figures as well.
Right.
To do like a 80, 85K job that requires a top secret, and you have to travel with your own personal vehicle, and it's like you're putting mileage on your car. So
Right.
it's like, in a grand scheme of it, I'm pretty sure in hindsight, he may think that if he could go back in time, he definitely would have maneuvered around differently.
Right, and got
but-
into a tech role.
Correct.
Yeah, because I knew an O&Mer that, like, when I was in Japan, so he was an O&Mer, he had just got out there from Boston, and once he found out that, oh, all I need is my Security Plus,
Right.
and now that I have this experience on this radar,
Right.
I can become an engineer.
Yep.
He did that, right?
Yep.
So I left the role, and because the thing about it overseas, too, is, like, a lot of the engineer roles and some of the tech roles, like, some people, they don't ever leave. So if you get that opportunity and somebody leaves and you have the certifications, like you said, they'll slide you right in. So
Exactly.
he didn't have any tech experience whatsoever, but he went and got the Security Plus. I left and he took my role.
Yep, it's
So-
easy. Like, that is really how they do it. If it's in-house, like for anything you want to do. So for example, for us in OSP, we could have went system admin like I did, network admin, information assurance and stuff like that. And information assurance over there at a particular point transfers to like a ISM role, like ISSM back stateside.
Right.
And like, network admin, of course, transfers back stateside. So there's some people that were over there that have been there for 10 years. Like
Yeah.
I've met someone that was in help desk for 10 years. And I'm like, you don't want to, do anything different.
You're
And
like,
he's
no,
like,
I'm making
no.
130, 140.
Exactly.
I'm never leaving.
Right. He's like, I'm okay. Like, my kids are grown. My wife is happy. I can do what I want to do.
All my stuff paid off.
Yep.
I done saved all this money. I'm good. I'm good.
Yep. I met
That's how a
a,
lot of people are overseas.
That's how they are. I met a OSP, like quality control engineer. I think he worked for Trace, and he was like above us, but just for a different company. That man had over a million in his account. And just casually. So I'm just like, walking through the office, and he's like on the Nipper computer,
Yeah.
like, checking his account. So I'm walking past, I look, and I'm like, and I take a few steps back, and I said, what's that? And he
Yeah.
was just like, oh yeah, this is my Play Money account. And I'm like, your Play Money account? And they had $1 million, and that was the first time I've ever in my life in person seen someone with that much money in their account. And he actually went into a business venture with this guy that's a veteran, and they bought a yacht in Miami, and like they
rent it out?
rented out.
Good money.
Yep.
Real good money.
Right. And it was like a multi-million-dollar yacht and stuff. So I'm pretty sure they're making like really good money. But he said that the yacht, like from renting, paid itself after like, I want to say like a couple of years.
Yeah.
So
They rent them out for like, depending on if you can get a deal or not, but like average, like if it's a decent sized yacht, that's like $2,500 to $3,500 for like 4 hours. Right.
I'm gonna think about this.
If not even more, but it's like
Right.
that's a whole different business. But
Yeah.
what I like about that conversation is that I don't talk about it too much, but majority of people who work overseas are millionaires.
They really
And
are.
then even a lot of people back in the States who work in GovTech, who have been saving their money, investing their money, they're millionaires too.
Yep.
So like it's not as difficult to become a millionaire when
Right.
you do the right things. And
Correct.
it's even easier overseas because you have no bills.
Correct.
You're living completely for
Yes.
free.
They cover housing and food.
They cover housing, food, and then you all weren't leaving, but like all the other good contracts, they cover transportation. They give you bonuses either every quarter or
We got
once
a
a year.
24K bonus yearly.
See?
24K, and then we also got a travel stipend. So like every 6 months we got, I want to say it was either 1,500 or 2,500 every 6 months just towards, because we had to
For
fly.
R&R.
Yeah, because we had to fly to Dubai.
Yeah,
So
you have to,
They
yep.
wanted to cover that flight, so it was like every 6 months, like it was just like on your check, just right there.
Yep, that's how it is overseas. I try to tell people like, look, I was telling you earlier, I'm like, I might go back for a month or two just because
Listen.
I don't mind it. Like to me,
It's not
it's
bad.
not bad.
It's
and
not.
When I took a vacation to Japan, and I was like, I think I want to go back because I lived in Japan for 2 years.
I don't blame you. I still haven't been to Tokyo. I cannot wait to go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
plan a
so
trip.
fun.
Yes, it's a ball. It's fun. I want to feel like the little Mario go-karts and
The
stuff.
Mario Karts, like it's really really fun. It's a vibe for sure. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I hope people like really listen now, because
Mm-hmm.
like I tell people that you can get a job with Vectress. I'm like, you just need help desk experience.
Yep.
6 months of help desk experience, a security plus, that'll get you in Vectress pretty easily.
Vectress throws clearances out.
Yeah, like because nobody wants to work overseas. Like,
and that's the thing. I actually have a friend who, I have a lot of friends at different places.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who, and when I went overseas in 2018, I was telling him, like, just come, I can refer you. And he was just being hesitant because he was like, I'm not going over there. It's a war zone. Like, my mom, my grandma are going to need me. And so, mind you, when I came home in April 2020, we had another conversation. And I'm like, did they need you for anything since I told you that? And he was like, no. And I was like, so you could have went overseas? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, you could have been had your clearance? Yeah, that you're still trying to get right now? Well, as of April 2020, he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I just hope that if the opportunity comes, you're gonna jump on it, because I got one of my other friends over there as well. Well, actually, yeah, like 2 of them. One of them was working with me at Comcast. I got him a job with doing OSP overseas, and then the other one, he was working for the post office, and he went overseas doing OSP work too.
Dang. Look at that, working for the post office and went overseas. I'm trying to tell you, people, they listen to what I say and they just think it's all cap. Because you were telling me, you're like, I read your comments and they're just so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like, the thing is, like, people live in this bubble. So it's like, what they have not firsthand witnessed a lot of times, it's like, oh, that's not possible. Oh, that's not that simple. Or you can't do that. And it's like, when you really kind of step outside of that and realize how many opportunities are out here and how simple this stuff really is to make happen once you see like the path or whatever the case is, it's like, oh, okay. Like, it's a lot of things that I still want to do that I'm going to find like a mentor, to do that I'm pretty certain was extremely simple, like much easier than what I'm in my mind making it seem. But, it's kind of like lived experiences.
Yeah. I mean, they just gotta take advantage of the opportunities, right? So if it's something you want to do, whether you want to work in the States or overseas, I'm telling you, like, the clearance, it opens so many doors for you. That's what opens the doors, right?
That's why I went. And it was just like, in a moment, I'm like, okay, I'm living at home. I'm in school for like, at this point, I was trying to go for my master's at that point, but I was like, I'm not feeling it. So I stopped at that point. And when I got that call to go overseas, I was like, do I really want to go over there? And then that's when I saw the salary, the clearance, all of that stuff. And in my mind, you have to be willing to take chances and put yourself out there to put yourself in a better position. Like, you can't sit in the same spot and say, okay, I want to do all of this. But when you see potential opportunities to get to the path of doing that, you're just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. You like, beggars can't be choosers. Not to say that anybody was begging, but it's like, you gotta
take advantage of the opportunities. Correct. Like, you have to, right? So it's like there was one point where I was overseas and I wanted to make $200,000 so bad. I was like, I will go to Afghanistan. Like, and I was so anti-war zone, but I was like, I want to go. I want to make $200K.
Right.
This is the way I know how to do it.
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna go to Afghanistan and do it. Yeah. So I actually did interview on the RAID program, right? I interviewed on that program. That program was going to be too much for me. I know that's why I didn't want to work in a war zone, right? Because like, they were just telling me like, yeah, they were like, they had got attacked. So they were like, yeah, there was like bullet holes in the computer.
Home.
Yeah, see, that's why I'm like, the war zone's not my thing. I'm like, I ain't never been in the military. Yeah. I don't want to be in a war zone.
It's real life Call of Duty. Like,
I don't want real life Call of Duty.
April 2020 when I came home, that December 2019 was when we got attacked. So like when Bagram Airfield got attacked by that time frame, I was on that base when they got attacked.
Oh my
and they were fighting from like 6 a.m. until like 10 p.m. We could not leave our barracks. I went on the second floor, looked out. I can see the Taliban with their helmet, vests, AKs, like, and they got on the base by driving a dump truck full of explosives into the T-wall, like a suicide bomber, just to get on base. And after that happened, I was like, I want to live. I was like, this is real life. This is real life Call of Duty. I'm like, yeah, I have to go home. So I went on a vacation in February of 2020. Went to a cleared job fair. And that's another thing. If you have a clearance and you like want a better job and stuff like that, please go to these job fairs. Like, a lot of people make it seem like, oh, I can just apply online and stuff, but it's much better to have that in-person conversation with the hiring manager and key personnel opposed to just submitting an application.
Always.
Yeah, that's how I found mine. And then I came home April 2020 and got the job with, it was Perspective, which is now Peraton. And the job title was AWS System Administrator. And it was a bait and switch. So
yeah, let's talk about this. Let's definitely talk about the bait and switch in GovTech, because it happens all the time.
When I say my career has multiple times because of that bait and switch, so it kind of like just jerks around and stuff. So I came home, was supposed to be doing AWS system administration, and I ended up processing D2875s. And I'm like, why am I processing this paperwork and stuff?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
where is my AWS login? Where is the console? Like, what is going on here? So I was in there for a while, and that's when they got bought by Peraton. And at that point, it turned into a thing where it was more so like Peraton was like restructuring that company. So at that point, they wanted us to go to like database administrator sides and stuff. And I was like, no, I'm on the cloud side. Like, I just got this cloud certification and stuff like that, so I want to go more cloud things. So that's when I interviewed for more positions, and I got a job with 22nd Centuries as a cloud engineer. And okay, so when I first got the prospective job, I was making $105,000 when I came back home. I really wanted $120K back in home, but I was in a rush to get back home because she was like, okay, I'm going to ask for, I'm going to push it through. And I was like, a week has gone by, hello.
Yeah.
So I was just ready to come home. So
right.
that was that. And then when I went with 22nd Centuries, that's when I was making $120K. And I started with them September of 2021. And that also was a bait and switch. So I wanted to get into project management work, but I just didn't know how exactly I needed to go about doing that. When I got that position with 22nd Centuries, I interviewed as a cloud engineer, got the position. Like, you know, I had my AWS Solutions Architect Associate, like, you know, cloud certs. I had my Security Plus. At that point, I had my MCSA. I think those were the only ones I had at that point. And interviewed for cloud engineer, got into the position. On the government side, my job title was systems engineer. And I'm like, okay, first of all, that's incorrect. And then I realized I don't even have access to their cloud networks.
Yeah.
I'm like, what again? What am I doing?
The government love that system engineer title. The government and government contractor companies. That's why I tell people, I'm like, people are like, how did you go from being a software engineer to a radar system engineer to test engineer to sysadmin? I said, because they play with the titles, but every single role was a radar system engineer role, like every single one.
It's like an encompassing title for so many other things inside of it. Like, my job description was very technical.
Right.
So I was also doing technical work. I got into the position, I'm over here making project plans, a Microsoft project, like the whole project schedule and everything like that.
Yeah.
I'm updating SharePoint milestone dates, which go to the PMO office. I'm over here coordinating meetings with like application teams and like all the respective SMEs for like different departments and stuff, trying to get their migrations and everything done. Actually, 22nd Centuries, like for DoD, we handled the bulk of their on-site to Azure Gov Cloud migrations. So, and that was like my first experience with like project management things. And that was like a huge migration. Like, I think the Air Force had tried multiple times and they kept failing and stuff. And they always had like stay on site for their networks and everything. But that's why I got into project management. And at that point I was like, well, I'm here.
Like, and you thought you were going to be doing technical work.
I did.
Yeah.
And at that point, I just saw that I did project management work, so I went ahead and ran with it. So I went ahead and got my PMP, I got my Certified Scrum Master, and my PM wanted me to get like an Azure certification, so I got like an Azure Fundamentals. And yeah, that's pretty much how I ended up where I am now. So yeah.
Man, so you got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
You got a lot of certifications.
Yes.
So so if somebody wanted to get into cloud, what type of skills do you think they need? We can talk about cloud and the PM work too.
Okay, so for cloud stuff, I prepared for cloud work, but as I just told everyone, I have not actually had to do the cloud work because of the bait and switch job titles. And I'm so upset about that. But for the positions that I have seen and like I've interviewed for and stuff like that, Solutions Architect Associate is like a really big one. And I think people think that that test is like far more difficult. It's a multi-choice question test. So, you know, if you have like a deep understanding of the cloud and like how their services work on the Amazon perspective, then it's like that's a good one. And I think for the government sector, I want to say like the bulk of their share is like Azure. So I mean, you can look at the equivalent for that on that side. Of course, have a Security Plus because anything dealing with like networks, they're going to want to see like a Security Plus.
Right. To get root access, you have to have it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, on the cloud front, I wish I had a tutorial at this point, but you know, everything was just kind of all over the place.
Right, yeah. So, okay, so those are skills you can use to get in the cloud. But so what about like PM, now that you kind of like fell into the position?
Yeah. So I think what makes, in my interviews, I think what stood out was the fact that for the positions that I'm the PM for, it's like I'm over the team of, I've done all of those jobs. So like, for example, you have, I'm trying to word this properly. So I had a contract, an additional contract before, that is like an evening and weekends. And
Right.
for one of them, I was a PM we had a telecom team, a networks team, and like an equipment deployment team. So when it came to like the telecom team, that tied into like the OSP work. So like all of the wiring and testing and stuff like that, I've literally done that. When it came to the network side of things, I haven't been a network admin, but when I was a system admin overseas, we had to do like log in, do the STIGs, like set whatever IP address needed for whatever. And so I had like a deep understanding of that portion. And then for the IT equipment deployment, I've done that stuff when I had my initial help desk positions and stuff like that too. So I was able to speak to all of the teams that I was over.
Right.
So that was like a big point on the interview and stuff. And you also have to be well-spoken and just not afraid to have difficult conversations and stuff, because part of being a PM is like, okay, we have an issue here, we need to bridge this gap, let's go ahead and have this conversation. A lot of people don't like confrontation. So it's
Right.
like, if you're afraid to have like those important conversations, then you're going to be walked over and stuff like that. And I need my projects to meet their deadlines. So we're going to hop on a call and figure this out.
Yeah.
Also, the PMP is a really big one as well.
Yep.
I did realize when I added my PMP to my resume after I got it, that kind of just shifted the calls that I was getting.
Right.
They took me more serious, and a lot of the stuff that I was getting, because I tailored my resume kind of towards where I want to go. So before I actually became a PM, when I was doing that position with 22nd Centuries, I was on PM work. So I did put on my resume, official job title was systems engineer. I put systems engineer / technical project manager, because
Right.
for all intents and purposes, I'm doing PM work.
That's what I do too. Like
Yeah.
if you want a different role, put that slash
Okay.
by your title.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then my job duties for that role, those were things that I'm actively doing. So I'm actively doing like PM related kind of things. So yeah, the PMP, and just have like experience of whatever direction you want to go into. Because I mean, IT PM, of course, is like a generic PM. And another thing that I wanted to get into as far as being a PM, well, the reason I wanted to be a PM was I got tired of being on the technical side and having PMs that didn't understand the technical stuff. So
okay.
it's like, you don't even have any understanding. Like, you all are trying to push these deadlines and stuff, and understanding the legwork that goes behind this kind of stuff, especially if it's like something that's software related.
Right.
Like, they have to test this code. If it's like in a certain environment, they have to, it's just like a process. And if you don't have any experience with that technical side, it's just like, hey, developers, I want you to do this. Okay, we need more time. No, you don't have more time. Well, you're not getting what you want.
Right. Facts. No, that's exactly how it works. So what's your day-to-day looking like right now?
So right now, my day-to-day consists of, so I'm overseeing like the IT build out of like new construction areas. So for example, I work for a local hospital to the
Okay.
Atlanta area. I don't want to say the exact one,
Yeah.
But so for example, if they're doing like any kind of renovations on like a particular wing of that hospital, I'm brought on like in the design phase, like with the architects and like the facilities construction team and stuff like that, just to make sure that the requirements from an IT perspective are being met. So after those design stuff happens, I mean, the construction people pretty much knows, like I've been fortunate enough to deal with people on the construction side, PM wise, that do know what the IT side does need. So I
Right.
don't have to do like much legwork in those meetings. I'm just there for like visibility purposes. But once it gets to a point where, we need the IT people to step in, that's when I schedule my telecom team to come inside, run the cabling, terminate everything, get like the test results from construction, because they have to like pass that stuff off. Once that stuff gets complete, reach out to like the networks team so they can come inside and install their switches, configure it how it needs to be configured. Once at that point, the facilities probably are going to push the furniture into the environments at that point. So then the IT deployment team will come out and place the phones that need to go, the computers that need to go. And because it's a hospital, it's like all of this medical equipment. It's like a separate Epic team that deals with that stuff. So it's like Epic is like the software that the hospitals use.
Right.
It's a lot of moving parts, but
Yeah.
the bulk of the day is pretty much trying to patch up like areas of communication that need to be had and just gaps and stuff. So I'm on the phone a lot, in meetings a lot, getting people in contact with each other, sending emails. But I love it because it's just organization. And I wanted to get off the technical side because, to be honest with you, seeing so many people that are like pushing like SME work, for me, that doesn't work. Mentally, I'm burnt out.
You don't want to be a SME?
I don't want to be a SME.
I don't want everybody coming for me for
Listen,
one specific thing.
Exactly. I don't want to
Yeah.
be a SME. And the thing is, it's like SMEs get paid a lot of money because they have a very specialized skill set. They're a SME. So it's like I sat down and was like, okay, I'm going to go into DevOps work. When I did that roadmap for myself and I started my training, I said, yeah, no. I'm like, I'm gonna push the PM side. So like as of right now, I am going to start applying for like director level positions end of this year, early next year. But I've already like compared my resumes to like people who are already directors and stuff like that. I see what certifications I need to get in addition. I'm gonna get my CSSP. I'm gonna change the AWS associate one to a professional one. So I have like a lot of studying to do. But yeah, I don't want to go back on the technical side anymore. I'm exhausted.
You tired?
I'm mentally drained.
Yeah, no, I see that. I know some people, they do want to definitely switch out of like the technical side, right? Because I had got out of the more technical side and got into the tech sales side with my TAM role. And I mean, I didn't mind it. And I wanted to do sales engineer next, but I took a break. So like I said, I think I'm gonna go back overseas.
Yeah, I mean, I really wouldn't be opposed to it. I feel like if a company called me, for something that I'm interested to do and the money was right, I really wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, I do have a cat. I'm going to send my cat to my mom and be like, Mom, you got to watch Cairo for some time. I can just put everything in the storage and stuff like that. And, since the car is paid off, just put that in storage too and just run over there. So, yeah, I would definitely do that. But also, financially wise.
I was gonna ask you. So how has making all of this money? Like you went from 43,000 to 120,000 to by the time you got back from overseas, you were at like what 160. So I'm sure you're still making great money now. Like how has that change in income like impacted your life?
So, okay, vulnerability, transparent moment. So. One of the proudest moments that the money's allowed me to do has been buy my mom a car. Okay. So in 2019.
That's dope.
Yeah, she had like an Altima at that time, like 100-something thousand miles on it, and she needed some work done. It was probably like about 3,000 or 4,000 to get that done. And she was like, I'm just gonna buy a new car. So I was like, oh, okay, it was around her birthday. I came home on vacation and I took her to the lot and I'm like, get whatever you want to get. And she got like a brand new one off the lot and now, paid it off, car in her name. And I just felt so proud of myself. And I'm like, yeah, I bought my mother a car. So
that's dope.
I appreciated that. But besides that, my background, my mom bought things that I had to grow into. So I didn't come from a background where it was like, I just got what I want. So I'm not used to just having things that I want. So when I had the money to be able to afford what I wanted to get, I went crazy for some time. I've even gotten to a point where I had racked up $60K in credit card debt.
Wow.
And it happened so easily. And prior to me racking up that debt, I didn't have any credit card debt, any student loans. I didn't have everything was zero on my credit report. And it was just a moment where I was just having a ball. And so I had my primary job, but I also had evening and weekend contract as well. So the thing about having contracts and stuff like that in addition to is you have to be very careful to structure your life on one income. And I did that. But then all of this extra income, I have thousands of dollars, I can just blow through consistently,
Right.
So when I left that contract because they were stressing me out and I just had my primary position, at that point it was like, okay, you need to bring your lifestyle down some, and it didn't mentally click for me to do so. So I was still spending. I went to a store one day, swiped that card, got a notification. They said you have $500 of available credit. I said, ain't no way. I got home, looked on that spreadsheet, added everything up, $60K. I started laughing. I was like, this ain't real. This ain't right. Somebody ain't doing the math right. So yeah, how I had to pay that off and stuff like that. But I think that having good financial management skills is one thing that people overlook a lot of times, because if you don't come from a background where you're just used to certain things, when you're finally able to afford them, you will, not always, but a lot of times you can go crazy.
Right.
And it's so easy to just lose everything or just get into debt. I know people overseas that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars that come home and they're broke.
Yeah.
They go back to working especially if you have any transferable skills that you got when you were over there, making like within the tens, like 18, 20 something dollars per hour back stateside, where overseas you're making six figures.
Right.
So
it's a huge adjustment, which is why, like we were saying earlier, some people just never leave. They're like, I'm not leaving 6 figures tax free.
Correct.
Right.
And I think that also is like my driving force too, because when I saw that 60K, I said, oh no, I got to make some changes. So at that point, I became like more focused with like the direction that I wanted to go in, and I stopped allowing myself to be in positions where like that bait and switch happened. Like me now, I'm far more focused with the direction that I want to head in, whereas previously it's like I don't fully know, like, you know, I think I know I want to go in this direction, I'm trying to go in this direction, but something is kind of like derailing me and stuff. And you know, life happens and stuff like that, but yeah, the financial management aspect of things, you really got to get a hold on that, because it's really easy to just.
Yeah, no, I get it. So how do you think people can avoid the bait and switch in the GovTech industry? I know sometimes it can be hard, but in the interview you can try to ask like as many questions as possible.
So for that portion specifically, ask them what they do on a day-to-day basis. Like, speak to someone that actually works on that team and ask them what they do, because if you allow them to just give you the job description and job title, it's so easy to just run with that and say, oh, this is something I want to do. But in reality, that's not their day-to-day. If the day-to-day doesn't align with the job description, then, you know, just be like, no. Because they will definitely do it. As you can see, it happened to me multiple times.
Right.
So, I mean, it all works out, though. I mean, I enjoy where I currently am now. And, I mean, I think, like, collectively, I want to say the most that I've pulled in was probably like 340, 360 annually. As the most.
Wow. So you pulled in 360,000 annually one year? Crushing it.
So I mean, it's doable.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely doable. So what's one piece of advice that you can give people that want to be in your position one day?
Keep pushing. Like, you know, when certain things happen and you feel like you can apply for 1,000 jobs, you can get 1,000 no's. All it takes is that one yes for you to get the opportunity that you want to be in. Also, be focused on the direction that you want to go, because my journey was kind of like all over the place. So it's like, if you, for example, if you want to go be like a SME, I see a lot of people are in ServiceNow now. Like, if you want to get involved with ServiceNow, go ahead and head in that direction and focus in that direction. Stop looking to your left and right and see what everybody else is doing. A project manager is going to have a different path than like somebody who's a cloud engineer, which is going to be a different path than like, you know, a different position and stuff like that.
Right.
It's so easy to just get sidetracked because you want to just touch on so many different things and you end up going nowhere. So it's like, find a specific position and just follow that path, and you should be good to go. But I mean, you know, life happens, but you got to be able to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
And figure it out.
No, I agree. Well, this was a great episode, Vic.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you came out. So where can people find you at? Where can they follow you?
So my Twitter and my Instagram is Baegif, however you pronounce it, whatever.
You said Baegif, yeah.
It's Baegif. Yeah, so I just have Instagram and Twitter. I mean, I have a Facebook, but I'm not really on there like that, of course.
We ain't talk about Facebook.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get active on TikTok, but as of right now, you know, I just watch people's stuff on TikTok. But yeah.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much, Vic, for coming out.
Thank you.
This was a great episode. I hope people learn from everything that we talked about, take his advice, and, you know, just keep pushing forward to get into GovTech. And if you want to go overseas, I mean, you can go Warzone or you can go somewhere safe. So it's up to you. But
it's a lot of money.
Yeah. It's so much money overseas. But yeah, so that wraps up this episode of Day in My Tech Life. My name is Simone B, also known as Bees. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. We'll see you on the next one.